Hello everyone, Dave Fernandez here. I'm the founder of the Coach Your Way School and the author of the #1 factor that determines your success in business, which, by the way, you can get for free once you join our Facebook group, and I have a link in the description for you to do so a little later. Welcome, and today we're going to be talking about how to have more confidence. I'm going to be sharing with you 6 hacks that have allowed me to boost my level of confidence over the years to a place that I never really thought would be possible for me. So if you're struggling with confidence issues right now and would like to learn a few hacks on how you too can boost your level of confidence so you can put yourself out there more, so you can go for bigger and better things, so you can have more fulfillment and ultimately be happier, stick around because this video is for you. So why do we lack confidence? Confidence is a byproduct of fear, and more specifically, fear of rejection. And if you haven't seen my video on how to overcome fear, I suggest you do a little later. Here's the link to it. In that video, I talk about how we're wired from birth to fear rejection out of a matter of survival. If you go to nature and you look at herd animals, which we could be considered a herd animal, they travel in packs in order to increase their chances of survival, right? Once you see one lagging behind, it becomes a target and it'll most likely die. For better or for worse, we do have that same programming. So we fear rejection because rejection from our peers, from our society, our community could mean pain and ultimately death. It's not going to happen logically, but as far as our brain's concerned, it is a real thing. So things like making mistakes in front of people, or failing to accomplish a goal, or lacking a physical ability in order to perform a physical activity or sport, lacking smarts in order to perform certain tasks at a certain level of proficiency, all these things could mean rejection from our peers or our community. So your brain is constantly scanning for these situations where it knows it is not competent enough to perform at a certain level or an acceptable level, right? So what it does is it tries to avoid them at all costs. The brain naturally focuses on avoiding uncertainty, and simply because if it cannot foresee the outcome of something, if it doesn't know enough about a certain situation and the possible outcome of it, it would rather avoid it altogether, just in case it could harm us in any way, physically or psychologically. So don't ever feel like you're broken in any way, or that there are people that are better than you because they have no confidence issues or they experience no fear. It's not like that. We are all wired the same way, and it's in everybody's DNA. What happens is that some people have learned to manage these instinctual triggers whenever they experience the fear, whenever they have the confidence issue, and they're able to manage and to perform whatever it is that they need to do in spite of the feelings, okay? And if you really want to learn more about this stuff, I really suggest that you go watch the How to Overcome Fear video. Okay, so now that you understand a little better how this whole confidence issue works and how it is created in your mind, let's go over the 6 hacks that I want to share with you that will help you overcome a lot of these issues. Number 1, showing up for yourself. That means keep your word to yourself. Do what you said you were going to do. Show yourself that you can count on yourself. So, this doesn't have to be a huge thing that you do or big events or anything like that. You could do one little thing at a time. You could say to yourself, I won't eat ice cream today, for example. And at the end of the day, because you didn't do it, you acknowledge it and you feel good about it. Okay, you kept your word and you did what you said you were going to do. Okay, things like, today I'm going to go to the gym, and then you go to the gym. Okay, you kept your word to yourself. Things like, in the morning you can say to yourself, well, I'm going to figure this thing out today. Okay, and by the end of the day, you have figured out that one thing that you said you were going to figure out. If you keep the promise, doesn't matter the task. What it's doing is that you're reprogramming your brain to know and to feel confident about what you say and you're keeping your commitments, okay? So all this stuff is super, super powerful. Nothing has been able to change my personality and my ability to trust myself more than this technique, okay? So I highly suggest that you start with whatever, something little, every day, just building that commitment, confidence that you can do, that you say and that you do, okay? It'll change your image about yourself, what you're capable of, okay? Your abilities, your self-worth, everything starts changing because you keep your word to yourself. So again, number one, show up for yourself. Number two, acknowledge your past successes consciously. And the purpose of this exercise is for you to show yourself that you have been able to figure out an enormous amount of things in the past, that you have learned an enormous amount of lessons from your past successes, from your past failures, from everything that you've done in your life, and that you can do more because you have done a lot. In life, we go through an enormous amount of experiences, good and bad, many successes, many failures, but they all leave a ton of different lessons that you can leverage into propelling you forward in whatever direction you decide to go. The problem is that because of the way the brain is wired, always looking for the bad, always looking for what could be potentially harmful, it just chooses to discard a lot of these different successes or past lessons as nothing or not important because they were successes. They didn't lead to pain or anything like that, and we're only concerned with pain and avoiding pain. Okay, so it only focuses on the lessons that came from failure. Knowing this, the trick is to go back in the past and make a list of all your past successes. All the times that you were at zero confidence, zero knowledge, and you were able to go through a process and come out ahead. Maybe a small success, maybe a big success, maybe you just learn a new skill. Okay, it's happened many times in your life. And if you just take a moment to make this list, to see all the lessons that you have learned throughout life, so you can see what the process was like for you, okay, to go from nothing to everything. It could have been a job. We all know that you don't learn the job in school. You learn the job by showing up, by being trained by someone, or just by doing and figuring everything out yourself, right? Every job is like that. So if you pick any one of your jobs and you just picture yourself, day number one, how you felt, how uncomfortable everything was, how new, how uncertain, the fear, the lack of confidence with things, etc. And the process that you went through, how it felt, how you were able to start figuring things out, and you became proficient in many of the things that that job required, to all of a sudden get to a place where you were like almost second nature with all these things. You didn't need to think much about things, etc. And you were probably in a place where you could just turn around and train anyone on the same job, okay? What was that process like for you? That's a success, okay? Whether your brain deems it a success or not, that's a different story, but anything that you were not able to do that now you're able to do is a success, okay? So if you grab that process and break it down into pieces, like the beginning, the feelings, the emotions, the things that had to happen for you to learn how your process was like and how long it took and what you got from the experience, etc. All these things are showing you exactly what your process of figuring something out is like. And pretty much anything that you decide to do from here on is going to be very similar. So now you have literally, if you do the exercise, you have literally told your brain consciously, well, if this is what happened in the past, and it happened here, and it happened when I learned how to drive, and it happened when I learned how to use a computer the first time, or my phone, or a certain software, or Facebook, or whatever, right? The process was the same. I felt unsure about myself at first, then I started gaining some proficiency and made a lot of mistakes that showed me how to do things properly to a point that, I was totally proficient in that environment or whatever. Now that I know what the process is like, you are literally eliminating or dissipating uncertainty for future learning, for future opportunities to put yourself out there in a new situation for you that may make you uncomfortable, that you may not feel too confident about, but now because there's this memory of a process, this uncertainty of it all dissipates enormously. I encourage you to acknowledge your past successes now. And that brings us to hack number 3, which is visualization. When you visualize something, you're literally creating an image in your mind of yourself sometime in the future performing or having performed a certain task in a successful way. So what I want you to do is to go back to that exercise that we did in hack number 2, where you broke down a certain task or job into all these different phases from beginner to proficient, and use the memory of this process to help you in this visualization. Here's how you visualize. Find a comfortable place to sit down at or lay down quietly. Okay, close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Okay, 3 deep breaths, and relax your muscles with every breath. Okay, just focus on relaxing your body. Relax your body, relax your body. Okay, at that moment, I want you to bring a picture of yourself right now, where you stand, you know, with whatever feelings that you're going through, the level of confidence you're at, that's okay. Just don't linger there too much. It's just to acknowledge where you stand right now. Now I want you to picture yourself going down this path, whatever that process was like for you, whatever it feels for you like to go from 0 to 100 in any area of your life. Just go through that process with this goal of yours. Whatever you want to accomplish, just go through the process. Imagine what it would be like to take the first step, how you would feel there, take the second step, take the third step, figuring this out, figuring the other thing out, starting to see some momentum build, starting to see some outcomes and getting some results along the way. And then ultimately, I want you to picture yourself at the finish line, looking back. Okay, so you're there, you already accomplished the goal. I want you to feel the way you would feel when you get there. Okay, when you accomplish this goal, how would you feel? Try to generate that feeling from within. You know, seeing yourself in the finish line, just looking back, saying, wow, you know, I did it, here I am, and I was able to go through this process just like any other time, no problem. I was able to master this or accomplish this goal. Okay, that's how you visualize. What you're doing is literally, you're doing several things, but primarily what you're doing is just putting images in your mind that you may not think they're possible for you. You're putting images of, you know, how you would feel. And so you're creating a certain vibration within you that is going to literally start creating opportunities and attracting things to you because of that visualization, because of you feeling already like you're there. Okay, and things are just going to start happening for you. It's a major confidence builder because now in your mind, you're creating literally, you're imprinting a memory of something that you want that has never been there. So that's why it is so important to visualize. Hack number 4 is to read motivational literature constantly. This is something that I do daily because it literally changes my mood. It uplifts me. It inspires me to keep doing, to keep going, to do more things that I never thought possible, because, you know, I see in this literature how all these people have been able to, you know, achieve all these things and how they have gone through similar situations as me. I can relate to them and I feel motivated, inspired by these stories, by their accomplishments. So it's something that I highly recommend people do on a daily basis, especially in the morning. It'll change your mood completely. It'll inspire you. It'll give you confidence. Hack number 5 is to read good nonfiction books regularly. Learning about a number of different topics makes you more valuable, not just to yourself, but to your community, to your job, to your family. Okay? It boosts your confidence immensely because you're able to dispel a lot of uncertainty about a lot of different things, because now you know. Okay, you're gathering information, you're learning how to think differently, you're able to show up differently. So reading about a lot of different topics is key to boosting your self-confidence. And I know it's done it for me in ways that I cannot even explain. In the description, I'm gonna add a few links to some of my favorite books in case you need some guidance as to where to start. Last hack number 6, is to create a toolbox of resources. Let me explain to you what a resource is. A resource is a premeditated way of dealing with a situation. Okay, you know how sometimes we have these automatic responses that keeps us in these vicious circles that we just don't want to be in. Like sometimes we feel forced to say yes to somebody's invitation to go out to dinner with them. You know, if we're in a group environment and everybody's trying to figure out what to eat or where to eat or whatever, and we just say, yeah, whatever, when we actually do have a preference, okay? So coming up with premeditated ways to counteract these automatic responses is key to your self-confidence, okay? Because now you're being true to yourself and you're not allowing your programming to dictate what the response is. You know, if you always say yes, well, then you need to find a way to say no in a polite way that is not gonna, you know, make you feel like too tense or too uncomfortable, you know, to do it, right? And you practice it and you do it, and next time it happens, and for example, you have an invitation for dinner that you just don't want to go to, then boom, you pull out your little script. Hey, you know, I'm sorry, I'm a little you know, up in there with a number of projects that I have, and I need to remain a little flexible with my schedule, and I would hate to have to cancel. So how about I get back to you whenever things calm down a little bit, for example, right? So you have that written down, you practice it a couple times, so now you know next time you get asked to go out to dinner with people that you don't want to be with, you just tell them that you have certain projects going on, you need to remain flexible, and that you will get back to them whenever things calm down. But for now, you would hate to have to cancel, right? So let's say you're in a group environment and you have a number of people making decisions or whatever, and you always go with the flow, right? Yeah, sure, whatever you guys want, I'm okay with it, but you really have a preference. So how about when somebody asks you, so what do you think about it? How should we go about this project or whatever? So you know what, I would prefer if we actually did this. I feel like there's more possibilities here or whatever, right? Or I actually would prefer to have Chinese, you know, if everybody's okay with that. Otherwise, you know, that's fine, but I would prefer Chinese if that's okay. So these are little scripts that you create with, you know, situations that you automatically feel like you have to respond in a certain way. So I encourage you to make a list of all these different things that constantly show up in your life that you feel like you need help with, okay? Just write them down and then create a little script on how to get out of that situation graciously, if you will. It doesn't have to be just situations in group or involving other people. It could be, you know, how to stay motivated. How do I, you know, get up in the morning and do what I need to do? Then you create this little resource. Like in my case, for example, sometimes I do read something motivational that is gonna get me in the mood of inspiration. So I have several ways that I can inspire myself, whether it's reading, sometimes it's watching a certain motivational video. Another trick that works for me, one of my resources, is whenever I have a very tedious thing to do throughout the day, I chunk it in 30-minute time slots, okay, with breaks every 30 minutes. So for example, I sit in front of the computer and have to write, you know, a long article or a long script for something or whatnot, and I know it's gonna take me all day to do it. I literally have my phone next to the computer and set the timer to 30 minutes. And when I hit start, I get going, and I know, my brain knows that in 30 minutes I get a break. Okay, so for 30 minutes, I'm looking at the clock, and you know, it gets me going, it gets me motivated. It's almost like it becomes a race against the clock. These are resources that you create in order to help you get the result that you are after, okay? Whatever the result is, just go to that situation where you're having trouble with and create a resource. How can I make this happen, okay? Constantly, every time I get stuck, how can I move it along, you know, in a very effective way in order to get the result that I want? Doesn't have to be anything complicated, just something that works for you. Hope you got a lot of value from this video and that you learned a thing or two. And if you did, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be notified next time there's a video available. In the meantime, go ahead and watch any of these 2 videos. I'm sure you'll get a lot of value out of them as well. Till next time, I wish you all the best, and let's get out there and start changing lives one session at a time. See ya.